Have you ever walked into a room and forgot the reason you walked in there? And you just stood there for a minute or so, trying to recall what it was that you were going to do. Now, you may believe it's just a moment of forgetfulness, being scatterbrained, or losing your train of thought. You may even describe it as just another episode of menopause brain fog. But what if it is something entirely different? What if something else has been going on your entire life and you've never noticed it until now? Hi, I'm Jenny, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Not long ago, I came across a few articles about middle-aged women being diagnosed with ADHD for the first time in their lives. What if this just isn't brain fog? What if I have been experiencing something else all these years and just didn't notice it until now? Besides menopause, I've been going through a lot of changes lately. I quit smoking after 35 years. I went through a recent job loss. And I also moved in with family last year to help each other save on rent and bills. If you're going through perimenopause or menopause and you haven't experienced brain fog yet, I'm sorry to tell you, but you probably will in the very near future. And if you already have experienced brain fog, then you know what I'm talking about. Menopause brain fog is real. For me, it shows up in small, frustrating ways. I'll start a sentence and forget what I was saying halfway through. I'll put something down, like my eyeglasses, and 30 seconds later, I have no memory where I put them. I'll read a paragraph in a book that I really want to get into. And if I'm not concentrating or my mind is on something else, I have to go back and reread that same paragraph all over again. I have to pretty much force myself to relax and get focused into my book. Because if I don't, I'll read it again and get the same result. And it's not just forgetfulness. It feels like a delay, like there's a lag between saying something and then actually being able to act on it. It's like it's right there in front of my thoughts and I know what I want to say and I just can't grasp how to say the word. My brain feels muddled. And some days sitting down to do one simple task, it feels like trying to start a car with a dead battery. I'm just exhausted and tired. And for a long time, I just assumed this was menopause. I figured it would ease up eventually, but then I came across something I hadn't considered before. When I read the first article about women being diagnosed with ADHD in their 40s and 50s, I didn't pay too much attention to it. Honestly, I kind of dismissed it. I always thought ADHD was something that would have showed up a long time ago. I pictured hyperactive kids who can't sit still. That was never me. I was the quiet kid. I'm introverted. I know how to sit still. But the more I read, the more I realized that ADHD in older women is entirely different from what I had already imagined in my head. In women, it doesn't look like hyperactivity at all. It looks like inattention. It looks like struggling to start tasks you really want to do, but you just don't have the energy to do them. It looks like losing things constantly. It looks like your brain jumping from one thought to another so fast you can't hold on to any of them. It also looks like being called spacey or scatterbrained your entire life, and you just thought that was part of your personality. A lot of women go through their entire life without ever being diagnosed. Why? Because they came up with strategies on how to cope. They make lists and they create routines and they stick to those lists and routines until they don't work anymore. I mean, until menopause. Because what menopause does is it changes your brain chemistry. Your estrogen drops. And estrogen plays a role in how dopamine functions inside your brain. And when those levels fall, the coping strategies you carried throughout life that used to work for you don't work that well anymore. So for a lot of women, symptoms that were always there become more noticeable once they enter perimenopause and menopause. And that's often the moment they finally get a diagnosis. If you want to check out the articles I read, I'll leave a link to them in the description below. I just want to pause for a second and ask, does any of this sound familiar to you? If it does, please leave a comment below, because I just don't think this really gets talked about enough. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So after reading this article and another one, I had to stop and think about all of this. And I sat there and thought, is this me? And I want to be clear, I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed with anything. I am not a doctor. And I am not saying every woman with menopause or perimenopause should be checked for ADHD or may have ADHD, because that's not true. Brain fog is real, and it is a real symptom of menopause. So just because you're experiencing forgetfulness or losing your train of thought, that does not mean you have ADHD. You're just experiencing brain fog like a lot of other women in middle age going through perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Yay, us. What got me thinking after reading these articles is that I have been struggling my whole life to start things. I'll have great ideas, but actually sitting down and starting them, that was always harder than it should be. Not always, but I do misplace things, which is why I developed a routine of always putting things back where they belong after I'm done using them. It helps me remember where they are the next time I need to use them. And another thing that made me think, I have always been exhausted by social situations. I always just assumed it was because I'm an introvert, that people drain me, which they do. But now I'm wondering if part of that exhaustion was from my brain having to work extra hard to keep up with others and their conversations, to appear interested when I wasn't, to appear that I was having a good time when I just wanted to go home, hoping that no one would notice me checking the time or scanning the room to see if anyone else was leaving yet, so I wouldn't be the first one to go home. Those are a lot of things you're trying to mask mentally. And it's something I've always done as an introvert. We don't want to make others unhappy or uncomfortable, when at the same time we're unhappy and uncomfortable. Now, maybe there's a diagnosis out there for some of us. I don't know. Maybe there isn't. I don't have the answers. I wish I did. But I think the important thing is asking the questions. We go a long time without answers. We're told it's hormones or stress or anxiety, or we're just being a little ditzy. And we believe it because we don't know what else to believe. And suddenly we're standing in our kitchens wondering why we walked in and thinking we're stupid or getting dementia or Alzheimer's. So if you've been feeling like your brain hasn't been operating the way it used to, like myself, and you just chalked it up to getting older, menopause, or just being you, you might want to look into it a little bit more. I know I am. Not because there's something wrong with you, just because you deserve to know what's actually going on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Your estrogen drop. Your estrogen drop. Your estrogen drops. You see a drop in your estrogen?